Many people, when they think about poverty, have something like Maslow's hierarchy of needs in their mind. They think that, in essence, people in poverty are sort of clawing at the base of this pyramid of needs, and they urgently need food. And then they need certain basic needs met before other needs become pressing. Yet, if you look at research, it seems that you can virtually not be so poor as to your psychological needs to not matter. All people, even people in extreme poverty, have a pressing need to have a sense of belonging, for example. All people want to feel like they're adequate and capable in who they are and what they do.
We struggle with agency as this very complex concept. It's intertwined with power and politics and exclusion, and at the same time, agency is a human instinct. We all experience it. Ultimately, if we can distill this concept into something people can understand but also feel viscerally, maybe that's what helps it take off and helps us make the kinds of investments we need for global development.
It's not what you achieve, it's how you achieve it.
Ability to be the protagonist in your own life and in your own story.
Agency, it's like really about like engaging the person's psychology and not just their quote-unquote basic needs.
Well, it's the ability of a person to decide for herself or for himself. It's the nuances, the subtle, everyday things that take you into, achieving that. That is all agency to me.
The Agency Fund was founded on the insight that when you look at the overall body of evidence that came out of essentially the evidence-based movement, you're trying to squint and sort of see not just the individual mosaic tiles, but like the overall picture that's emerging. In many cases, embracing the agency of those who you're trying to support, rather than nudging them into this or that choice or giving them this or that asset, but actually helping people navigate their own life circumstances in an empowered way, turned out to just often work much better than one might think. People were often able to do a lot with these kinds of intangible supports that we might think people in poverty don't need as urgently.
I came into this work as a social activist. I am a neuroscientist by training, and I come with a very scientific view. But I lost a dear friend and partner early in my life to suicide, and I became a mental health activist. I have spent time, I think as almost everybody on the planet has, in deep anguish and grief. And what I needed to move forward in my life, to make meaning in my life, was support, emotional support, therapy, and investments in me as a person and in what I wanted to do to contribute back to my community. So for me, this is also intensely personal. This is about making investments in each other and doing it in a way that helps our entire society move forward. When Richard and I first started talking, he had been working in Kenya and in other countries on these interventions that were incredibly low cost, that had just to do with sharing knowledge, coaching, supporting people's beliefs about themselves, their sense of self-worth, their sense of belonging. When you invest in people's beliefs about their capabilities, what happens?
So it's put into hands that we're really trying to...
These like powerful tools that GPS have been.
You make concise and summarize all of that.
Where do they fit?
Yeah, I would say like to that point, like if it was motivated, like if you care about how it's motivated, and then also like what are the roles?
See,
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a problem, here's a conceptual solution, here's what it means.
Adjustments, whether it's in your point of sale, like
What we're seeing in the evidence often are the kinds of approaches that when you look in actual fact and policy, there's not these like billions of dollars going into mental health approach or into empowering, into career counseling or into these kinds of approaches that we have a lot of confidence, a lot of excitement about, are not in fact like well reflected at scale. And so I think that's the kind of gap that is our mission to close.
Development ultimately is driven by people, and there's a need to invest in the people, not just in the skills that we think they need, 21st century skills, vocational training, how to operate equipment or sew or run a barbershop, but in their beliefs about themselves, their ability to envision the future and move toward that future with intention, with a sense of ownership and self-authorship.
Esther Duflo wrote this beautiful paper about economists as plumbers, where she sort of describes this idea of kind of coming in to a specific context, having some generalized knowledge about, like a plumber does, about what kinds of things can go wrong, but then being faced with a very specific setting where something specific needs unblocking. Some of the best RCTs would have typically come out of that spirit, of actually trying to really understand fundamentally what is causing, development potential to be lost in a specific setting.
When we think about conventional philanthropy, a lot of that philanthropy has taken the stance that the social sector knows best what to do. Our role is to give money and let them prosper. What we are trying to do, which is a little bit different, is to position ourselves as learning actors, as people who are trying to learn alongside our partners, fundraise with them and for them, let them operate, but try to help them with data collection, with research, with discovery of why what they're doing is working. And by learning and aggregating all of these insights, we really want to fuel a movement. We really want to instigate change in governments.
I'm kind of hopeful that organizations that think of themselves as kind of learners are willing to throw things out, willing to pivot, willing to abandon things that maybe they did in the past and they have an RCT on, but they think they might be able to do better in the future. The idea behind learning organizations is very much that there's kind of a journey here. But ideally, you sort of keep learning how to become more cost effective, even if that means that you shapeshift.
So the agency fund wants to make an impact right now. We do that through funding that we raise and then provide to nonprofit organizations so that they can deliver services now. Our long-term view really is that we aggregate enough knowledge and practice and frankly some of the technology needed to operationalize, that we can scale these kinds of interventions globally, making this part of our global consciousness, this need to invest in the exercise of agency, just as we invest in literacy or numeracy. These are basic human skills that allow us to interact and thrive and flourish. I don't actually want to evangelize investing in agency because I believe that it's good. I want to test the idea that it could be transformative. And I want to come with a curious mind, with a beginner's mind, and bring partners along to help show us the way.